what is nihilism and what is a nihilistic approach towards life?
Nihilism is like accepting skepticism at everything. But there comes a point, there's a blank state. You don't know anything beyond that state.
Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, he had either a slave or an assistant. So when people used to go praise him, and then he would feel a little bit like, oh, you know, I am so great. The slave would just go and whisper in his ear, and he would say, you're just a man.
There's Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein and everyone. Trolley problem. And on the other track, we four are there.
सोच के राजीव, सोच के.
Kill everyone.
Bro, what?
Are you kidding?
The fact that no one's going to remember you in the next 100 years. How does that make you feel?
Exceptionally happy.
I feel that whatever I'm doing, I do it for myself now. It's
You can
very,
terribly be selfish and selfless at the same time if you understand this point.
But do you think some people crave suffering in their life?
Girls who are on TikTok choosing drama, red flags.
This is I like Rahul. Rahul को podcast में permanent रखो.
Rahul visa चाहिए ना? Cancel नहीं होना चाहिए. And there was a bird chirping. And he was looking at the beauty.
So welcome guys to the 10th episode of the Productive
Procrastination
Podcast.
So today we have my dear friend Rahul. So I'd love for him to introduce himself.
Hi guys, and I'm Rahul, and I recently came from Sydney, and I'm like a childhood friend of Rajveer, and I've been following their podcast for the past couple of months since I started. I've seen Apurva, I've seen Aryan, all their work, and I'm quite impressed by it. And I always said Raji that I wanted to come here and like share my inputs, because Raji has also mentioned me quite a couple of times in the podcast, and I always wanted to be here. So I'm studying in Western Sydney University, and I'm studying Bachelor's of Social Sciences, and yeah, that's pretty much.
What are we talking about today, Rajveer?
Yes, sir.
Today we'll go through this philosophy, literature, poetry, living abroad. मौत के बारे में सोचते हैं कि नहीं. The greatest purpose of our lives, of humanity.
Good question.
Nietzsche, nihilism, everything.
So this episode is going to be more philosophical.
Yeah.
We're gonna
We'll
have.
start off a little easy.
I think because it's been a while since we've had a chill episode. I think this just chill with the boys and have asa fun conversations. Also, it's been a while. I think our last few episodes have been a bit serious, so we might take it back a notch this episode. Have a good time with the boys. With Rahul also who's joined us today for the first time, and also get into some deep topics as Rajveer mentioned. So it'll be a fun episode. Episode number 10, guys. Thank you.
Episode 10, bro.
Double digits. For those who have been with us since episode 1, we thank you. We thank you.
Mom, Dad.
Mom, Dad, big. 10 more and 20 more after that.
Definitely. If in this year.
This year. Okay, let's start. Rajveer sir, would you like to kick us off with a question?
Okay, so we have talked about this before.
Yeah.
But Rahul, what is your take on the meaning of life? Not the purpose, but the meaning of life.
Starting with a heavy blow.
Masala, as Apurva says, the question has had a lot of masala this time.
Yeah, definitely.
So basically, okay, so this is a very typical Rajveer question. मतलब अगर Rajveer birthday में गया है ना, तो फिर वो like वो balloon से देखेगा, वो birthday boy को पूछेगा कि मतलब मुझे meaning बता life का. ये सबका पूछता है. और हम लोग ने ये first time नहीं है, बहुत बार किया है. So हम लोग का basically answer बहुत ज़्यादा negative होता है. Negative नहीं, pessimistic होता है. बहुत skeptic होता है. So for me and Rajveer, what we discuss, we start from Camus, we go to Sartre, we go everywhere. But in the end, हम लोग बोलते हैं कि I think nothingness is like the core concept of life. And
So nihilism mostly.
Nihilism, yeah. Nihilism, centric, existentialism, whatever.
Achha, but what made you start with nihilism? Like I'm thinking like you start with the meaning of life and then you connect it with nihilism, right?
Yeah.
So why is nihilism so deeply embedded in your heart?
This is because of one core channel which is Pursuit of Wonder.
Oh, okay.
We both are big fans of Pursuit of Wonder. Started watching it together, and then it's like reading a Dostoevsky book or something. It's just you read it, you finish it, finish the video, and then you're in existential dread. You don't feel the same after seeing the video. I think you should see it, and that was the purpose. And a few filmmakers also. I started seeing French cinema quite early, before lockdown, and French cinema, if you've like seen any of it, it's basically existentialism, and a lot of like the characters of the movie that like smoking cigarettes, eating bread, and even Swedish cinema, Ingmar Bergman, all these people. So like it was like kind of an amalgamation of different kinds of cinemas, and the kind of literature I was pursuing, the kind of books I was reading. And of course with Rajveer, you can he's like an empty canvas, you can paint anything on it. But pretty much for us, it was like how much ever you paint the canvas, in the end it's like a blank board.
Acha, for those people that aren't very aware about nihilism, would any of you like to explain in very layman terms, what is nihilism and what is a nihilistic approach towards life?
Basically for me, it might be nihilism is like accepting skepticism at every point. When you start to doubt anything in life. I mean, a philosopher tha, which is named, I think, Pyro from Egypt, and he used to say that nothing should be said with conviction. It should be always said with a maybe, but I mean, it doesn't make a point. But for us, it was skepticism is basically nihilism. When you doubt everything, why is like the grass is green? We have an answer for it. We have a scientific answer for it. But there comes a point where you have to. There's a blank state. You don't know anything from beyond that state. So so when you look at life, when you see life with all its miseries, as like Schopenhauer said, like life is a swinging pendulum between miseries and like the positivity itself. So there's happiness, there's sadness. That's how life goes on.
Oh, it's beautiful. Rajveer, what is your take on nihilism? Chalo.
As you said, like, you gave a beautiful answer, the pendulum swinging between happiness and sadness.
Yeah.
And the nothingness. Actually, when you go into the why again and again and again and again, it just gets to the point where it's like, it doesn't make any sense and it's absurd.
Actually, absurd is a very, very good point. It reminds me of Camus, and like, God, that guy influenced us.
For me, nihilism is more like I think optimistic nihilism is the word. So that is something I really resonate with. It's basically nothing matters, but then the fact that nothing matters makes you want to do more things because nothing matters, and that is something which is really stuck by me.
What are your thoughts on nihilism, Mario?
So I think I do completely understand both of your points towards nihilism and how the pendulum example that you gave was very beautiful. It actually, now that I think about it, because a lot of things that happen in life, you can look at it from a perspective that it's a good thing that happened to you, or maybe it's a bad thing that happened to you. You're not really sure about it. You can look at it from any perspective, right? Perspectives is it's very subjective. And I believe that having that perspective is important. That in the end, when you look at it from the greater point of view, nothing matters. It's a good perspective for sure. But as he said, optimistic nihilism, that sticks with me more, because I believe that if nothing matters, everything matters in a way, right? The very fact that we're present here and the fact that we're alive and we're talking about such things, the fact that we have the ability to talk about nihilism and question the fact that nothing makes sense in itself is a big deal. So my personal approach would be more optimistic nihilism, but I get nihilism. I get the perspective behind it. It makes a lot of sense. But so you have this nihilistic approach. Where did this start? Do you guys remember from at what instance did you start questioning everything? Kab hua ye? Like, you just looked at this and be like, yaar, ye aisa kyun hai? Aisa kyun nahi hai? When do you start questioning things?
I think, Rajveer, we should go back to that one video of Pursuit of Wonder, in which, in the end of everything, you know that video? And uske andar, it's like there's this character who is like, I think it's not that, it's limits of wisdom or something. A character is alive for almost all his life, he's immortal, and then he reads every kind of book, he goes in every kind of century, he sees everything, but in the end, he comes to a point that he comes to the conclusion that I think he should just stop living, and death is a big acceptance for him, something like that. I think between there and the time when we were, the Letterbox app, when we were the only Letterbox app, we used to see films, movie and all those apps. Shit. I think it's like a mix of Swedish cinema, old cinema, because if you see old cinema, even in Indian cinema, if you see the cinema of Raj Kapoor or anyone's cinema, they have their purpose in their films. They have a certain sense of purpose in their film, which really makes you think as a human. So I think that did the same for me with French cinema and Swedish cinema, and with that Pursuit of Wonder and some books.
What is your? How did you start critical thinking?
I think it was in the lockdown, before lockdown or somewhere along the lines.
I mean, we got into it before lockdown, but we really dwelled into it after lockdown because we had that time.
We used to, go out there and we used to sit building ke yahan pe, and we used to look at the stars and
Yeah. Yeah, that was a favorite pastime, to be honest.
That sounds nice, huh?
and see all the constellations. One thing I remember, there was this one conversation that we had. It was about, of course, the space and stars and obviously like the pale blue dot and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess it was after I'd watched this one film, A Ghost Story. And there's a long monologue which I showed it to him.
Okay.
And I guess it was sort of a catalyst in our journey towards nihilism and philosophy. The monologue, it goes like it's at a dinner party, and the movie has minimal dialogues, but just this one monologue of 6 minutes. It's about legacy.
Oh.
So how, suppose humanity goes on for 40 million years or something, or suppose 40,000 more years. Beethoven's music.
So.
Beethoven didn't have, I guess it was, I'm not sure if it was Mozart or Beethoven. They did not have any kids or anyone, but they had a nephew. And the nephew, and so basically the speaker in the monologue, makes the point that everyone wants to be remembered. Whether it's through your piece of art or through your kids or through your friends, family, everyone in the end, that's sort of like some selfishness as well. But yeah, so that was the point, and he takes the example, suppose 40,000 years into the future, everyone is dead and humanity somehow makes it onto a spaceship
Yeah.
across some other planet or something. One of the things that will keep them going was the piece of art by Beethoven.
Oof.
And he sings that note, and it was so beautiful and got me thinking, at least me.
Yeah. And also the fact that I read quite recently that an interviewer asked Albert Einstein that, "Sir, what will you miss after you die?" And then he goes like, "Oh, I just can't listen to Beethoven anymore." This makes much more sense when it comes to that dialogue.
But when it comes to like making art, like do you think you should make art for yourself, or you should make it to last for others so that they can see that art and they can inspire to make their own art?
Maybe it should. For me, art is something that you should reflect on a piece of paper what impacted you actually. I mean, everyone is influenced by some different kind of art.
Yeah, definitely.
Most people don't get the art of cubism. No one gets postmodernism.
Yeah.
But what everyone knows is like, oh, these three sides of triangles are mountains, right?
Yeah.
Everyone comes to that conclusion, and probably that what Picasso did. It was like he could draw like Michelangelo, but he never chose to draw like that.
Became Picasso.
Yeah, he drew like a 7-year-old, you know.
Beautiful.
And for that art, I think it's like what provokes that feeling inside you. It doesn't have to be about society. It doesn't have to be about society. If your thought is intriguing more than 1 million people to think about themselves, I think nothing is bigger than that. What do you think?
So what's within you, like basically?
Within me, I think
So like, do you do art for yourself or for
definitely
others?
for myself.
For
yeah.
yourself.
No,
He's a great painter actually.
Oh really?
yeah, for
He's
myself.
been painting since several years. He has this collection of paintings. Beautiful. What about you?
Is there any specific form of art that you choose to like?
Started out with watercolor paintings, and then eventually when I started seeing art, when I started studying art, I found Van Gogh and Matisse and Picasso quite influential, and Rabindranath Tagore. These like the 4-5 bunch of painters, they were like good, like quite artistic actually, good mix of colors. They have a certain sense of symbolism in their art, everything like that. So for me, art is that. But I've stopped painting now. I'm more into writing now. Yeah, so
Which one do you think fills your bucket more?
writing. Oh God, it's like, do you like to sleep more or to? No. I think for me it's writing now.
Really?
Yeah, because I love painting. sometimes I just pick a pen and just doodle something maybe. But for me, it's writing, because for art is very. You try to draw a certain kind of painting and it goes like, oh, you're trying to imitate Picasso. You're trying to do this. But when you are like, what Quentin Tarantino said, it's like, it's not plagiarism if you copy from 50,000 different artists.
Yeah, see like an artist, yeah.
Yeah, so exactly. So that's it. If I'm like, I'm reading James Joyce, I'm reading another writer, I'm reading Camus, I'm reading Dostoevsky, and I'm like deriving inspiration from them, and I'm putting my source with existentialism, with positivity. It is something new now.
It is art, I agree.
I mean, for sure, right? Even music, for example, you know that discussion where it's like, do you think music is invented or discovered? Like, it's like it's all out there in the universe, and we are taking bits of it and we are creating our own this. But doesn't mean that we are. It's not plagiarism. It's not copying someone else's work. When you're picking up things in the universe, observing, and collectively using your own input, and then creating something new out of it. It's still your work. It's not others' work, right? And that's actually a question that I thought of now that I've already said it out. I think I should ask it. What do you three of you think? Do you think certain things in the universe, like I gave music's example, do you think it was already out there in the universe to be discovered, or do you think us as humans, as humanity, do you think we invented music? Do you think we invented art? Do you think we invented all of these things, or did we discover them and it was already out there?
For me, I think we discovered it most probably. It was always there. We just needed the vision for identifying them. I mean, a scribble during the ancient periods when we were hunters and gatherers, for every story which needed to be expressed was like a scribble on a rock. And there was always the noises and sounds of crows and birds and the whistles of nature and everything. We just discovered it, and we planted them and buried them inside instruments. And that's how we actually sourced out music or art or anything like that.
I actually agree with him. Like, it was always there,
Yeah.
but we had to find the beauty
Exactly.
where it was.
Someone had to spot
Yeah.
it.
So if you remember, in Gladiator, there was a scene starting when Marcus Aurelius, there was a battlefield going on, and it was a very bad. Everyone was killing each other. There was blood, but there was a shot of Marcus Aurelius, just not Maximus actually. He was
Maximus.
touching this grain of wheat, and there was a bird chirping, and he was looking at the beauty. So he was zooming into that, and then when you zoom out, you see that battlefield. So it's finding that beauty.
And then the bird flies away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful scene.
So continue.
No, in a way, you're right. He was observing what was already present, and then
Finding the beauty.
in what was already
Well,
present.
if we talk about beauty, Rajveer, this one film has to be in our bucket. American Beauty.
Oh, have you guys seen
Have
it?
you guys seen it? Okay, so American Beauty is just very normal film. A very, very basic, banal American household.
Okay.
A house, a bungalow, a good wife, a daughter. But this guy, he just constantly feels like, oh, I'm lacking something. I have my 9-to-5 job, I have everything. But like in the very end, I won't spoil it for you, but it gets short, right? Yeah. But it's not about the story, but
No,
there's
but
a
the
scene.
last 5 minutes
Yeah.
of the film.
They have nothing, but I think in 3 to 4 ratio in the camera angle, it's like a paper bag, a plastic
Plastic bag,
bag.
flowing.
It's just flowing with the leaves.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it. I think that's 3 or 4 minute long shot.
Yeah. Along with him describing his daughter
Oh
when
god,
she
yeah,
was
that's it.
young,
Yeah.
when she was
Middle-aged, yeah.
how she was at the time when he died.
Mhm.
His wife when they first met, his wife now,
Yeah.
and how the entire incident.
No,
took
that's
place.
basically the concept of when you say that when you die, like your entire life flashes before your eyes. They captured this sequence in that. The guy shot, his head is on the table, and then this comes out. The hands of his mother, everything.
Hands of his mother, the hands of his grandmother sewing.
Sewing, yeah. And
Him
him
lying-
beneath a tree.
Him
Yeah.
lying beneath the tree looking at the stars
Yeah,
when he
it's
was
very
5 or
beautiful.
6.
Yeah.
And those 5
And the
minutes,
last lines are like, this was my little petty life or something. And then they just cut it
Damn.
So his life flashes before his eyes.
before it.
I hope you get it, but I know you won't until you get there.
Yeah. And one day you will get there. Certainty of that.
It still brings me goosebumps. It's
Goosebumps
such a
any
beautiful
day.
scene. And it's nothing, it's just a plastic bag flying around and it's so beautiful.
I mean, the director just stopped and like, let's record this bastard back for a moment.
And he
It
somehow
will
found,
reflect existentialism.
exactly, he somehow found beauty in it.
I need your movie recommendations, this guys. Alright, Naji, next question. What do you have in mind?
So, nihilism, since we were getting there, and existentialism, and about the beauty of life. Since I've known this guy for so many years, he's one of the most positive people I've ever met. One thing I wanted to ask, when you read so much of this nihilistic, pessimistic literature, how do you have such a positive outlook on life?
I think when you get influenced, there's a difference. You read it and you get influenced by it. I think for me, I understood by nihilism primarily is that, okay, so Schopenhauer, they say he's the darkest philosopher in history.
Contract.
It's the beauty.
No, this is also
Oh, I like that.
Heavy.
Heavy.
yeah. So when we say Schopenhauer is the darkest philosopher of all time.
Okay.
Like there's nothing darker than this guy. But for me, I think he's like all he does is like actually state a lot of facts and regarding the realities of life. For him is like the world is an appalling place. For him, like he's seeing misery all over the place. And Nietzsche also, he believes in the fact that life is like a very negative state. We are all suffering, like that. Yeah, suffering. What Buddhism says, this is the point, right? Why Schopenhauer and Nietzsche are saying the same thing, not the exact same thing, but the same thing as Buddhism. But when you see Buddhism, oh, I'm a Buddhist. Oh, he's a positive person. He's into spiritualism. Oh my God, he meditates. But the difference is, these guys were trying to discover what Buddhism had already discovered a couple hundred years ago. Right? So, for me, being positive is like when you undertake the fact that, okay, life is suffering. So what? What can I do? But like that, I can't live the rest of the 50-40 years of my life which are remaining in absolute negativity, right? Even my father is concerned about the fact because I tell him, like, I'm very much influenced by Schopenhauer. I'm very much influenced by pessimism, skepticism. Like, you don't get influenced by it. I mean, it doesn't make you influence. Like the philosopher we read, Emil Cioran, a Romanian philosopher, very impactful philosopher. I'll just recommend you one of his books. It's called The Trouble by Being Born.
The trouble of
The Trouble of Being Born.
the trouble of being born.
Yeah. In that book, it's like nothing. It's not a story. It's just his compilation of quotes. Okay. And it's like the most negative, most pessimistic type of quotes in the book. But this guy, when he was interviewed, he was the most positive and he used to laugh the most. And he used to write the most negative shit ever. Seriously, you should read him.
Beautiful.
Emil Cioran.
But that's how do you find the balance in accepting that there is suffering and negativity in the world, but also having a very positive outlook? Because if you consider the people around you, right? Obviously, people want to be surrounded by positivity. People want to be surrounded by positive people who give that vibe, who give that energy. They don't want to be surrounded by people who have a very negative approach to life. So how do you manage to be interested in all of these topics and yet not let others in the negative, take them on the negative. Don't let them negatively get influenced by the same, because that's what it's. In the end, you don't want people around you to also.
You have to think of me as a negative.
Exactly, right. So, yeah, I mean,
for that purpose, pessimism or anything which is quite negative should be used as a tool when you're suffering yourself. I mean, if you're in grave pain and you just take a seat back and you think about life. So you should use it as a tool. Oh my God, like we live in a pale blue dot, right? We should use it like that.
So you're saying when a person is undergoing some suffering or is undergoing some pain,
makes you feel grounded.
It in a way they will accept it if they have this approach to life, rather than complaining as to why am I feeling such or why is such things happening to me.
Yeah.
In such a moment, they'll feel better about themselves. Is what you're saying.
Yeah. For me, even pessimism, it doesn't make you negative in life. In fact, it makes you understand life at a much more larger level. You start to see beauty actually in everything. You start to feel more composed. You start to get less angrier on stuff, on random things which makes you angry. Seriously.
I think when you combine nihilism and pessimism together, you realize that you're just a man and
Yeah.
that's you're just a
One
man.
of the latest shorts by Philly Shakna.
So what the story? You guys know the story, na? So basically, what the story is, कि Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor,
Yeah.
he had hired a slave or an assistant. So when people used to go praise him, I'm like, oh Marcus, you're so great, ye wo chandi, ye all that, okay. Then like Marcus, you're so great, you're the greatest emperor of Rome. And then he would feel a little bit like, oh, I am so great. The slave would just go and whisper in his ear, and he would say, you're just a man.
Oh, yeah.
You're just a man and nothing. So basically, it's like when you're winning, you're not as good as you think you are.
Yeah.
And when you're losing, you're not as bad as you think you are.
Yeah, that's such a profound quote actually. She should be reminded of that constantly. I loved it.
Crazy. But you know the discussion that we were having about, now that you mentioned winning and losing, something similar along those lines is good and evil, right and wrong. I mean, perspective, we're talking about different perspectives to life, right? The beauty of life is understanding that there is good and there is also bad. As you said, there's suffering and there is also pleasure, both as it simultaneously exists in the same realm.
Yeah.
So, do you think there does exist suffer? As you mentioned, suffering, no? Do you think suffering actually exists, or do you think it's just a difference in perspective of a person? Like, what you might perceive as suffering, another might perceive as joy, or another might perceive as something good happening to them. Do you think you can specifically put things into bracket? Like, is there black and white? Are you all three of you? Are you the black and white type of person, or do you believe that it's like a spectrum, like difference in perspective? Where do you guys think it lies? Certain things. Like I mean, suffering also is, so some people come up to me literally and they say that I went through a lot of pain yesterday, I went through a lot of suffering yesterday, so now someone might have the outlook that okay, that was bad, right? I'm sorry that happened to you, but then that person might be like, no, I'm very happy it happened to me because I came out stronger.
Yeah.
I came out a better person, I improved in a way, so it's good it happened to me. I consider that a good thing. So where do you guys lie? Where do you guys stand on that good versus evil perspective?
That's a good question, honestly.
Apuro sir, I would like
Bro,
you to
know me, bro. I'm always in that morally gray area. I'm always debating. I've talked about it with you guys also. Like, I always don't know where to draw. Like, I know where to draw the line, guys. But like, I don't know what the definition of good and what the definition of evil is exactly. You know? Like, we were discussing this yesterday. You know, ki, if I were to give you a button to press and to nuke the entire world, but you have to kill someone, but that button will save millions of other lives. Would you still do it? Would you still kill a man? Would you still strangle a person to press that button and to save millions of lives? And also kill them. And also kill millions of lives. So that's what I don't understand, bro. I'm still in that morally grey area.
Yeah, there's an ethical term, right? I think it's a technical ho jayega, but it's like it's a theory of deontology. It's called. It's basically where the theory of deontology states that killing, cheating, lying, all of these things are wrong. Doesn't matter what you're doing it for or what the reason might be. You might be lying or killing or cheating to save many lives, but doesn't matter. Deontology states lying is wrong, killing is wrong, bus, the end. Doesn't matter what you're doing it for. But then the other side is utilitarianism, which believes that the greater good for the greater number of people. So if you're killing, as you said, you're strangling that person to save 100 other lives, then you're a good man because you're doing it for other people. So what are your thoughts? What kind of a person are you? Would you do the greater good for greater number of people, or do you have a very black and white approach to life that galat hai to galat hai bhai, main nahi karne wala?
I think what if we just stick to very primary aspects of moral and ethics, it's like if we go on to deontology more, it just goes like I think is it similar to Kantian ethics, what Kant said, Immanuel Kant?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it is the same person. Yeah. So for me, I really never thought as philosophy is like it's very stubborn. It's really stubborn. Like यार ये गलत है तो ये गलत है, ठीक है? Strangling गलत है, लेकिन ये भी तो सोचो कि like जो 100 of others जो बच रहे हैं, उनके बारे में क्या? So I think I'm like with Apurva at this point. If you ask me personally, like I will save 100 others if like strangling one person to stop that button. You know, because I think one man's life can be sacrificed for saving 100 others. But there's also another question. It's like if we just turn the situation, this guy is like a fucking genius. Okay, he's a genius, and these other you don't really know these aspects of other people. They're like, I mean, you just see me as a different person. These are like poor people who have nothing really who doesn't have a big output in the society at the point. You know, I mean, we often forget the fact it might come out very raw. It might come very really raw, but like 90% of the population of this world are working in cubicles on 9 to 5 basis. They are providing to the economic growth and stability of a country, but except from that fact, are they providing anything necessary to the evolution of mankind?
Oh my god.
God.
I mean, what if I'm keeping humanity alive for the next 40 million years? I'm just taking economy up by a few digits. Am I doing something greater by saving 40 million other people?
So now you're going more into the person's life ka worth. That one person's life might be worth much more than the other 100. So you might, like that one person might be Albert Einstein, but then you'll say that saving Albert Einstein's life might be much more beneficial than saving those 100 other poor people's or that kind of approach.
I think the concept of posterity also comes into place. Is that, I mean, the next 100 million which are going to come on Earth are much more valuable than the rest who have like left the 60% on this Earth and have not like practically done anything beautiful or given some real output to the world, right? I mean, we four of us, we won't change the world. I mean, we are also under those 10 million people who will probably get strangled one day.
Yeah. What about you, Rajveer? You've been contemplating what
I'll just ask Rajveer a question. Okay, so this Leonardo da Vinci, this Einstein and everyone, and you are among the 100 others people who are about to get, absolutely crushed by the train. Okay, just the trolley effect, right? The trolley problem. Would we often see this, that we are the one who is controlling it, right? But you are the one who is like on the train tracks. Yeah. So would you save the lives of Da Vinci? And what would your perspective be on this? Would you accept the death on your face?
Or kill? Okay, I
kill
can either save 100
or
people like me.
Or only on the other side are the most 100 influential people of the century. And on the other track, you are the like your one. We four are there on like other 400.
सोच के राजीव सोच के
कोई बात को नहीं सुनेगा नहीं, ऐसा भाई यार दा विंची थोड़ी बना रहा है पॉडकास्ट, सोच के
Kill everyone.
Bro,
दोनों ट्रैक पे ट्रेन, यहाँ पे भी ट्रेन नहीं है, यहाँ पे भी ट्रेन लेके जाओ, यहाँ पे भी ट्रेन लेके जाओ, सबको खत्म कर दो.
घुमा के लेके.
This is nihilism guys, जो स्टार्टिंग में डिस्कस किया था. This is it.
It's. But okay, suppose I'm taking Da Vinci. At the time he was alive, how many people knew his work?
That's a very good question. Very good way to put it. Actually, he lived in poverty actually in most of his life.
Exactly. Even Van Gogh, he was in a mental asylum.
Yeah.
I think his works got recognized after he was
Most
he
of
died.
Yeah.
greatest artists, inventors, most of the work was recognized much later. So if it is at the point of time when I'm not aware of their actual worth, I'd probably save myself.
Sir, but if you were? That's a very easy way out you took, pata hai? If I didn't know, now you know. Now tell.
But they are already dead now.
I mean, essentially the question, putting behind who the person is. Let's not emphasize on who the person is and what their life ka meaning is. Make it very simple. Let's just consider one person on one track and 5 people. Like trolley problem basic. One person on one track, 5 people on the other track. You don't know who they are, just normal people. But this train is going towards those 5 people, and you have the right, you have this to change it to the other side. Would you change it, or would you be the one to let destiny take control and let those 5 people die because it's just meant to be, in a way?
I would change it.
So you would take this into your own hands and you would kill that man. You would be responsible for.
If I'm present there, of course, somehow destiny wanted me there, right? It was not to just let it happen then. If I'm present there, then probably not as a seer, as someone who's just letting it all go. But probably change it.
But do you think you'll be able to live with the conscience of knowing that you were? Do you think it'll feel the same, knowing that the train was going, minding its own path, and it was going? Although you knew that it'll take the 5 lives and you didn't do anything about it, you did not single-handedly take that call, right, at the end of it. And in this case, you did take the call. So it will feel differently, right, for sure. Like after you've done it, the impact will be worse when you kill that one person. So how would you handle that?
I save 5.
But so what if, let's make it complex. What if it was a family member, Chal, the one person? This is 5.
Which family member?
Close. Take anyone close to you.
Rajveer's family, entire family that is watching this video, kindly beware and kindly never travel on the train with Mr. Rajveer Jha.
क्या भाई बढ़िया बना दिया
Which family?
But essentially, what is your outlook to this? The same question, trolley problem. What are you doing? So he said he's changing it. He also said he's changing it.
Is it the family member thing?
No.
Just a normal.
Just normal.
Like, again, I would have to live with the guilt of changing the track. But it's, again, I would try to justify, I saved 5 people's lives, but the guilt will always be there and the guilt will never go. And I will always think of myself as a killer, but that's life, Okay, आगे बढ़ो. That's not what I'm saying, but like, you just have to live
Everyone
with
in
it.
jail watching right now.
No, but yeah, I mean, I've thought about this a lot. Like,
No, but when I put like Leonardo da Vinci and
The greatest minds.
Einstein into this problem, we also should look into the fact that when Devanand, when Raj Kapoor was doing the cinema, everyone thought they're irreplaceable. But then Shah Rukh Khan came into the picture. Everyone greater came into the picture, right? If we have Rousseau, if we have all the philosophers, we have Noam Chomsky at the moment, right? So you are replaceable. If I think in a greater scale, if we see it in a vision of 100, 200 years, if Leonardo da Vinci didn't exist, I think someone at par with his knowledge, would have existed.
I think I agree with you. Like after 100 or 200 years, I think no one will even remember Leonardo da Vinci. Because I agree, you will be forgotten.
I mean, we remember him after 500 years now, but
That's true. But like, think of in the larger scheme of things. Like, I just feel.
Does that make you guys, this very statement, how does that make you feel? I'm actually curious. The fact that no one's going to remember you in the next 100 years. Even if you do something extraordinary, no one's going to remember you in the next 1,000 years.
exceptionally happy.
Same, I agree actually.
How does that make you feel?
But the fact that nothing's like, no one will remember my name in the next 100 years and no one remembered it 100 years before.
How do you feel?
I feel that whatever I'm doing, I'll do it for myself now. So the fame, whatever it is for me. And it's
You can terribly be selfish and selfless at the same time if you understand this properly.
Yeah.
You can do everything for yourself, and you can be absolutely selfless, right? Or you can just donate yourself to the society as well.
That is true.
Rajveer, how do you feel? Knowing that you're not going to be remembered in the next 100 years, how does that make you feel?
As they said, exceptionally happy. Because some of the stuff I've said could get me cancelled and people will forget about it.
Which family?
Which family member?
ये तो गया है, राजू तो गया.
Family emergency meeting at the Rajveer Jha family.
Intervention.
Wait, so this is am I the only one that feels terrified listening to this, the discussion that we were having? Not the family member one, the forgotten one, yeah. Am I the only one that feels weird thinking about it?
I was on the same track, but then when I thought about it, I don't have to listen to anyone. I'm doing it for myself only, bro. Like, there's no burden on me to do that particular task. Whatever it is, you do it for yourself. You want to do whatever you want to do, great things in life, you do it for yourself. Papa ki sunni nahi hai, khud ki sunni hai. In that sense, if you understand what I'm saying.
Still terrifying, though.
It is terrifying, though. It is terrifying. A little bit.
Because, yaar,
there's no legacy.
Yeah, I mean the fact that you were just a speck of dust on this planet and you're just gone after that and no one gives a fuck anymore. It is terrifying a bit. It's very comforting. I'm not denying. I get what all three of you are saying.
It's terrifying as well. Like.
It is terrifying.
Don't you think there is ego in memory? Like.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah?
Actually, I think so. That's a very good question.
Yeah, so I think I saw this from a Kanye interview. He said, what do you want to do? So he said, what do you want to be remembered as? And he said, I want to be forgotten. And he's like, why do you want to be forgotten? Then he says, there is ego in memory. Who invented the sidewalk? You don't know who invented the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah, that's...
But the fact that you use it every day.
Yeah.
So your work stays, but not you. And that's what
I think in the end, the primary goal should be we should leave an impact on the world for the future generation.
But that's the thing, right? This also, I keep having this debate with myself where it's like, if I get to invent the greatest fucking invention on the planet that is helping tons of human beings, but no one knows I've done it. Or if I get to impact one person's life, just one, over a million people, just one person's life, but that person knows I did it, I would take that one person. That's just my...
You would want to be remembered.
I would want to be remembered even if it's just by one person. Even though I would be giving up the impact I could make on humanity as a whole. But that's just my personal view. And there is a lot of ego into it, I'm not denying it. Ego plays a factor for sure. Like, otherwise I would help society.
But it's natural.
But it's,
It
It's
is
natural.
natural.
Everyone has their own thing. What do you guys think? Would you guys want your art or creation to be remembered? Or you?
Bro, 100% my work, bro. Again. I mean, bro, again, 100 years after 100 years, bro, no one's gonna remember me, and I know no one's gonna remember me. So, the fact that I create something that lasts more than that is everything to me. But I created for myself, so that's also one more.
wait, so you created it for yourself, but
Also the fact that we're not getting, no one will remember us after 100 years. It shouldn't make us less passionate of what we're doing at the moment.
Agreed, 100%, yeah.
Shouldn't be.
for sure, yeah.
It's like there's a very beautiful quote by Fernando Pessoa. It's like quite different. It's like, I bear the wounds of all the wars I haven't fought.
Ooh.
This is a quote, if you read it like 7 times or even 10 times, then you will also like think of new things when you read it every time. This is about a constant war which goes inside us. What is this? This is the constant war which is going inside us. We are just thinking, oh, no one will remember us, but we want to leave an impact. We want something to talk about. यार अपूर्वा ने ये किया था यार, अच्छा आदमी अच्छा था, है ना?
झूठ बोल रहा है वो, ठीक है. Essentially, it comes down to that only. Every human being on this planet wants to be remembered by the end of it. They have this desire to want to leave an impact behind. Where do you think that stems from? Do you guys have any thoughts on why a human being or why humanity? Because we are the only species that really, if you look around, look at the cat. There's a cat behind the camera, guys. The cat goes...
Existential dread.
Yeah. That's Rahul after the podcast. But essentially, no animal, no insect, no other being other than a human will give a fuck or give a rat's ass about how the rest of their species will remember them after they're gone. They don't care. They don't care at all. You can make out from the way they live their lives. But
She feels offended.
I'm sorry, cat. But why does humanity feel this way? Do you think we are meant to feel this way? Do you think it's
No,
humanity?
I think because only us, we were given the gift and the problem for the ability to think. Except us, I think very less amount of species on this planet really have the ability to think, and that's why we are in this conundrum. Seriously, because if we never had the ability to think, we would just eat and just just like cats and dogs, we just lay down. I wouldn't think we would even think of leaving an impact on this world. Why would we? If we are getting our daily bread and getting to sleep.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know who gave this quote. Like, it's like, goes like, if you give a man 8 hours of sleep, if you give him money, if you give him daily sex, if you give him all the pleasures, he will, like, that's human nature. He will definitely give up on purposes and everything. Why would you struggle for something if you're having all you ever needed in a single day and you're having it daily? Why would I chase a Ferrari if I'm extremely comfortable in my car?
If you would get it at any point.
At any point, if I know I get it this Tuesday. Forget about Ferrari. If I'm getting all of my like the
Basic needs, the basic needs,
yeah.
physiological needs.
There's a basic need hierarchy.
Self-actualization wala.
The self-actualization need,
yeah.
exactly.
Muscles, yeah.
I had this one question for all of you. We were talking about suffering a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
I read this comment of Pursuit of Wonder के वीडियो के नीचे ही.
Uh-huh.
It goes like this: the amount of suffering everyone has in their life is constant. For some, it might be losing their keys or losing their phone or something. For some, it might be losing their clothes on, but they all suffer relatively the same. Because for them, that was really important to them, and for them, that was really important to them. I'm not comparing losing a phone
No, I
to
understood.
losing a loved one.
ये episode
I was
राजवीर
trying to
तो
get not cancelled.
ये episode राजवीर गया बेटे ये episode cancelled है but हाँ what's your question?
That's a good one, actually. Yeah.
Do you think everyone suffers this, has the same amount of suffering in their life?
So you're saying throughout their life, or are you saying just comparing the suffering of
Throughout their life?
throughout their life, it's relatively the same for every person, is what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Suppose there's this.
Oh.
Suppose there's this poor person who has been selling combs for their entire life, and they haven't earned a lot of money. They are just living in poverty throughout their life. There's someone who has an insane amount of money, but they are always stressed about it. They're always managing it, trying to control their schedule, trying to control different aspects of their lives, managing. Do you think the suffering is the same?
That's a good question, honestly.
I think we are too privileged to answer this. But,
Yeah, actually. Very honest answer.
But I don't think each person suffers the same. I think some people definitely end up having it way worse than the others. Because as you said, now that example that you gave, this very rich person who has everything sorted, he might lose, as he said at the keys example, he might lose his Ferrari keys, but this other person might not have food to eat that day.
I was also going to give the similar example.
And that the person who lost his Ferrari keys, for him the keys might be very important. But if you look at it from a larger perspective, his life is nowhere as close, or the suffering is nowhere near a person in Syria, or I don't know, a person right now anywhere, like who might have lost his entire family to maybe a bombing or something. Like, it's very different. So I wouldn't say the suffering is the same. I think people suffer more. There's a reason they might be suffering more, not from this lifetime. From the previous acts they might have committed in previous, that's a different episode only.
So you believe in past lives?
Yeah,
the
I
karma
do.
thing.
I do believe in karma. I believe that there's a reason why that specific person is suffering more than the other, but they are suffering more.
So, I had a question. Do you think people create their own suffering to make some drama in their life or something?
This is a
Actually, building up upon what Aryan said.
Yeah.
Okay, first complete your question. Actually,
That's the question. Like,
But if we take the situation a bit, the billionaire person we were talking about, okay, so the poor person is extremely poor. He just makes his bread daily meal and he's just living his life very normally. But he has a good son who's working hard every day. At the same time, the billionaire, their kid is like slightly autistic,
okay.
and they don't have anything much to offer. So in terms of legacy, the rich one is quite stressed, but in terms of the poor one's legacy, he's quite proud that I have nothing but my daughter or my son would provide me and make his future sustainable. So he's very peaceful with the fact that he's reliable on his daughter or his son.
he raised them
And
well.
the rich guy who has billions of dollars at the moment is not content or satisfied with himself because his legacy wouldn't be,
Despite all of it,
despite all of it, it will just vanish.
even if he was willing to raise his son or daughter well, he was not able to
He was not able to.
because of some nature.
But that's a very specific example, right? Like, for sure, what you're saying makes sense. Like, the suffering on the larger scale, they both are suffering in different ways. But your question was, is the example of that Ferrari key versus the house, whatever the other example that you had given, is the suffering same?
It was just an example. It can go very.
So what are your thoughts? Do you think the suffering is on a larger scale throughout lifetime, everyone suffering the same, or do you think it's different? I like your question also. We'll come to that after this.
Bro, I actually agree with you mostly because when you mentioned that Syria thing, you know, that actually I was actually on this side. You know, the suffering is equal. When he asked me the question, I was like, I agree with Rajveer. But then when you mentioned that not everyone suffers equally, I was like, yeah, that actually makes a lot more sense.
Fair. And what was your question?
Do you think some people create suffering in their lives?
I'd like Rajveer to answer this.
I think we should like choose girls who are on TikTok and everything, like choosing drama, red flags.
This is I like Rahul. Rahul को podcast में permanent रखो. राजवीर को निकालो.
राहुल वीजा चाहिए ना? वीजा कैंसिल नहीं होना चाहिए.
Oh my god, my guy robs banks, but at least he has a passion towards it.
Those memes,
Reddit, yeah. Nah.
This is a good controversial question. But Rahul, continue. Do you think people create suffering?
Of course they do. Of course they do.
But what about the person whose house got bombed, bro?
Exactly, I was
Like
coming to that.
that's a natural phenomenon. I mean, if you're living in Gaza, like
How did
Yeah.
he do it? Someone who's living in Japan, Hiroshima,
you know this YouTuber. He used to eat a lot, and then he
Avocado.
avocado. Yeah, that guy. It's like, what is he doing? He knows he's eating himself to death.
Yeah.
Nah, bhai, the YouTuber.
I don't know.
There's this guy.
Oh, that
who's
guy
like-
who's on the wheelchair, like red t-shirt पहनता है हमेशा.
What do you say?
खाते रहता है, खाते.
ASMR खाने का. And then he's eating and he became extremely fat. And a lot of influencers who died that way. The people create suffering for themselves.
It goes either way, bro. I think, as he said, as he also mentioned, people do create suffering for themselves also. But there are a few things that people go through that is not on them. It's like completely it wasn't their choice or their actions that led to it.
Yeah.
It's very like I don't know. It's hurtful to assume that it happened. You're responsible for everything that happens to you. It's a good way to live life, but it's also like, bro, we're too this to talk about such things. I feel, yeah.
Very privileged to talk about all of this. But yeah, that example about the housebombing. Suppose someone was living during World War II.
Yeah.
One of the places where civilians were bombed. What about them?
Yeah.
They did not create that suffering, right? Just happened to them.
But the thing what I was getting was ki like not suffering only, but like in a way more drama in their lives because there's nothing happening in their lives. So a lot of them create a lot more like
Poonam Pandey controversy.
राहुल को रखो पॉडकास्ट में आज से. राहुल अच्छा है. नहीं, but the drama part, but that's like thoda diverting from the
suffering.
we spoke about I touched upon the past lives part. I would like to know your thoughts on that. Do you guys believe that our past actions lead to the suffering that we endure in this lifetime?
Deja vu?
No. So just the stuff that you go through, that stuff that you might have done in your past life. This life, if you are suffering, it's because of those actions that you might have committed in the
The
previous life.
cycle of birth and rebirth.
Yeah. Do you guys, what are your thoughts on that? Rebirth. Like, do you think this is just a version of your life? Like, just another this, or is this it? Like, after you die?
That's it. No, that I believe that. After you die, that's it.
So suppose something happens really bad to you. Do you think there's a reason for that you might have done it in the previous life, or it's just this life related?
Actually, that's a good question. I feel like there was this Master Uguay quote. Like one often finds his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it.
We had a similar quote. I don't remember it, but
काट दिया पूरा quote काट दिया. नहीं काट दिया.
Rajveer interrupting Apura for the 100th time.
हाँ बोलो काट दिया. The similar quote नहीं.
A similar quote की मतलब on the way to avoid home one finds it or something.
हाँ, you had mentioned this in the episode once. Yeah.
The what is that? Thomas Wolfe one.
I think so. It's the Thomas Wolfe.
The shortest way home is the something like
Think
that.
you are escaping and run into yourself. Longest way around is the
shortest way home.
बोल आ गया.
But like I'm primarily against the fact that of past lives and everything, but we don't know anything equally of it.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about the quote about. I might be wrong, but it's a quote I think from Darwin, which goes like, "I was equally comfortable before I was born, and I will be equally comfortable when I'll die." I don't know the fact that how I felt before I was born. It was an unending black void.
I think it was Oscar Wilde or something.
No, it wasn't Oscar Wilde. It was Darwin. It was Mark Twain. Mark Twain. It was sorry, Mark Twain.
I've been dead for 1,000 years before.
Exactly, yeah, I've been dead. And it was quite peaceful. Yeah, that's it.
What are your thoughts, Aaron?
On past lives?
Yeah.
No, I think.
Good movie.
Adil, please.
Adil sir, क्या पी गया है sir? episode 5 का पी के आया वापस जैक डैनियल्स. अच्छा नहीं तो देख, I believe ना that I believe in the rebirth theory where after this life we are born again as another human being, and the actions that we, the life that we live the next time, it's the impact will always be because of the lives that we've lived before that. So I personally believe in that. So if anything happens to me, any suffering that I endure in this lifetime, it's because of, one, I believe it's good that I'm enduring that suffering because I'm coming out of it stronger anyways. So it's a good thing in a way. Again, too privileged to talk about it, but it's a good thing. But also, anything really bad happens, it's because of the sins that I might have committed or the deeds that I might have committed in my previous lifetimes.
But do you think you're just giving an excuse to just go like? It's
Not taking accountability.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, it's kind of wrong to say it, but it's not also.
No, I agree. I know what your point is, because if something, I fail at something because suppose I failed at an exam, and I'm like यार मैं
पिछले जन्म में नहीं पढ़ा था,
पिछले जन्म में पढ़ता नहीं था तो मैं
आज फेल हो गया,
इसलिए आज फेल हो गया. तो that is for sure not what I was talking about, but I get your point for sure. Yeah, no. Accountability is another very good discussion, right? Like self accountability is so important. Do you think everything that happens in your lifetime happens because of you?
No, not 90% of it. Like there are things like which are not in your control. I mean, the same example as the World War. I mean, if you're in Germany in World War II, during the time of World War II, you didn't choose to born. You didn't have any choice to be born in Germany. So like there are certain things which are not under your control, and there are things I think, but it should, if the ratio should be like 60-40. 60% of the things we are the ones under control. 40% I think we should leave it to destiny and our birth and everything. Something like that.
I agree.
What do you think?
Well, I agree. My ratio was 50-50. It's 60-40. Literally, but like, the thing is, the 50% of what you can control gives you 80% of the outcome you want.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. The rest 50% you can't control, ठीक है. But what is it?
But I'm just curious for you personally, you said 50-50. What is the 50% in your life that you believe you are not in control of, or that you have not had in
It's just look like this is the weather, black swan events, so like this is the pandemic came, it was not in my control.
Yeah, exactly.
It just came through, and like you just have to adapt to it, you just have to survive and live through it. But then what do you do in that pandemic? What books you, like, it's a very basic example, but what do you choose to do in the pandemic? What books you read? Basically, I lost weight in the pandemic, so that's what I'm saying.
Hi, sir. Solo angle. Sir has been on fitness journey since 2020. Now sir is starting bulking journey. Sir will appear in War 3.
But the point is like you choose to focus on what's in your control. And whatever the other 40%, the other 50% is just leave it up to the universe. Surrender, if you remember.
Surrender.
Fair.